She's not one of us! You've betrayed your blood!
I didn't betray anyone. I just learned to love louder than you pray.
My name is Josip Miller. I am 72. I am dry as last year's plank, knotted fingers, blue veins, shoulders a little broken by years and work. My beard is gray, even as if measured with a ruler. A black frock coat holds to me like skin that has learned my shape. I am going to speak today, not to anyone else, to myself, because when you keep silent too long, even your own shadow turns away. Fall comes into the house like an uninvited guest with dampness, with the smell of rotten leaves. On the table, a lamp without light. Beside it lies a Bible, yellowed pages that remember my wife's hands. I have just finished my prayer, and I am not sure whom I addressed it to God, to myself, or to the one I have not seen in 30 years. Silence presses. It is not grace, but a stone that lies on the chest. I hear the floor creak under my feet, though I am not moving. Dust settles on the windows like birds that long ago lost their wings. Time does not walk here, it crawls, it limps, and it always comes back to the same place, like an old horse to the stable. I say out loud, Lord, if you are near, hear an old sinner. Do not let me die without understanding. Show me when I cross the line between faith and pride. My eyes fall on a line in the Bible, underlined by my wife's hand. Blessed are the peacemakers. I scolded her then, said you must not write in the holy book, and she smiled. If a word should burn, let it burn in our book too. Now she is gone, and the word went out with her. I pick up the lamp, but I do not light it. Light is responsibility, because the moment you switch it on, you must look at the truth. And shadow lets you lie to yourself that it is not too late yet, that your son will come back someday. I thought silence was a blessing, I say to myself, but it turned out to be a punishment. It gnaws like a mouse chewing wood from the inside. It seems to me there is a man standing by the door, a shape, dark, unmoving. My heart tightens, but it is only an old coat on a nail, the coat he used to wear, my son's. I sit. I place my palms on the Bible. The wood under the skin is warmer than my hands. And I remember how a small palm once lay in mine light, trusting. Silence was different then. It breathed with love. And now finally I decide to speak. Son, if you are out there in the dark somewhere, do not turn away. I will tell you how it was, how I lost you. You were small and quick. You ran along the side of the barn as if the earth were nudging you forward with a knee. You took up the plane and held it not like a hunk of iron, but like a friend who understands half emotion. The shavings fell in even ribbons, the light lay on them, and the wood breathed as if with relief. I remember a dialogue that seemed a trifle to me then. Now I hear the future in it. Dad, you said without lifting your eyes from the board, if a tree has a heart, does it hurt when we cut it? Maybe it endures, just quietly, the way people would endure if they could not speak. The tree is given to us for work, I answered, watching the line fall straight. Its heart is in the purposes for which we take it. A table will serve, doors will hold the heat, a wagon will bear the harvest. That is the meaning. And what if those purposes will not be ours someday? You would not let it go. Say a person comes with a different plan, says, I will make something not for the field, but for a song. Will the tree be glad then or angry? Our purposes are the right ones. I cut you off faster than I thought, because we answer for them, and responsibility matters more than talk about joy or songs. You nodded as if you agreed, but I saw that inside you were looking for another answer, a deeper one. I did not have time to search for it with you. The work pressed, the field waited, the wheels begged for grease. I thanked God you did not argue, and I did not say what I should have said. When something hurts, you must speak of it, even if it is a tree, even if it is you. That summer, the sky poured generously. We carried water in buckets, the handles slick, the water spilling through our fingers. You laughed when the splashes tickled your legs, and I still laughed with you then. I did not know that laughter would become the measure of loss. Dad, you shouted from under the rain. Look at that rainbow. It is like it joined our garden to a foreign sky. Rainbows are not only for looking, I said with a frown. They are for remembering. It is a sign of a promise. I remember the promise, you said more quietly, almost in a whisper. But it also teaches you to look up not out of fear, but because it is beautiful up there. Is it so bad to remember and rejoice at the same time? I wanted to add something instructive about the fear of God and work, but I fell silent. Your voice held a light that does not ask permission to come into the house, it just comes. I was afraid of that light, as if it would carry you where I could neither catch you nor hold you. In the evening, we sat under the shed roof. You turned a little basswood boat in your hands, smooth, light. You set it into a puddle, and it went between clods of earth like a real one. Where is it sailing? I asked, as if joking, but in truth testing your thinking. Where the little wind is blowing right now, you answered gravely. But that is temporary. If it has a river, it will sail not by accident, but in its own channel. I will make it a river, Dad, so it has direction, not just a gust. Wind is a direction too, I grumbled. Today from here, tomorrow from there. It is nothing but trouble for a person. If you always listen to someone else's wind, yes, trouble, you said without raising your voice. But if you make your own channel, the wind will only help. Not a commander, a helper. You grabbed a stick and began to cut a little trench. The water obeyed and rushed after the boat so quickly, as if it had been waiting its whole life. Your hands, they held a motion I did not know calm and free at the same time. Then I first felt the worry that would later become my life. If you cut your own river, will I be able to keep you near the bank? And do I have the right? Dad, you lifted your eyes. Did you ever want the earth to push you too, the way it does me by the barn? Or did you become a bank from the start? I became what I had to be, I said firmly, too firmly. And everyone was better for it. The house, the field, all of you. Everyone except you, you asked gently, or accept me. I chopped it off. We do not have except, we have together. When everyone does his part, life gets easier for all. You did not argue. You simply turned back to the trench. But in that silence, there was already an answer I did not want to hear. Together does not always mean in the same way. She appeared like light from a lantern that cuts a dark road. I was not the one who turned on that lantern. I did not call it closer. I only saw you notice the light, and you did not blink. Her name was Anna. To everyone, the Englishwoman. She came to care for the old woman who lived beyond the woods. There was too much color in her dress, too much sound in her voice. I pretended not to see, not to hear. But you saw, and you heard. Dad, you said one evening, standing in the doorway, she asks if she can borrow our axe. She says its edge is dull, and the wood does not wait. She has her own tools, I answered without lifting my eyes from the work. Her world has its own axes and its own hands to wield them. But her axe really is dull, you stepped closer, and she does not know how to sharpen it. I watched her try stone in her hands, and the edge only worse. Maybe show her. Let her learn in her own world, I said shortly, even sharply. And if her world does not teach her, you asked quietly, but stubbornly, then what? She only wants the wood to lie down straight, without pain. I bit my tongue. You looked at me as if waiting for an answer that did not sound like a sentence, and I answered the way I knew how. Tell her an axe is not just a blade. It is responsibility. If the responsibility is not yours, the axe is not yours either. You nodded. You did not argue. You just walked out. And my words kept falling to the floor like shavings not cut clean. An hour later, I saw you carrying the axe across the yard anyway. You did not look at me, and I did not shout. I did worse, I kept silent. The next day, she stood by our fence. A yellow dress shone in a gloomy morning, as if trying to convince the sky there was still a sun. Good day, she said. Thank you for the axe. I am in your debt. We have no debtors, I answered, clenching my hands so as not to show my nerves. She smiled a little. Very well. Then I am simply your neighbor, And neighbors, it seems, can say thank you without a debt. You stood nearby and listened. In your eyes, I saw a river the same one you once made for the toy boat. The river had found a new channel. We pray in silence, I said, just to say something that carried weight. I can be silent too, she answered calmly, looking straight into my eyes. You are too loud in your silence, I said, and I felt how defenseless that line sounded. Perhaps, she nodded, silence has a voice too. Not everyone listens to it. She left. You watched her go. I saw something invisible settle on your shoulders light, yet able to move a stone. In the evening we talked. The silence between us was thicker than air. Son, I began, you know our rules. I respect them, you answered without a trace of defiance. I live by them, Dad. And you will go on living by them, I said, pressing each word. I am living by them, you repeated calmly. I just breathe a little differently. She is not one of us, I said slowly, as if trying to hold my words on a leash. She is a person, you answered. And she is not like the people we are used to seeing, but there is no sin in that. We are people too, I said, but we are our people. We have a boundary that must not be dissolved in a foreign world. She is kind. You said it so softly I barely heard. Her laughter is like water when it is clean. That kind of water does no harm, Dad. Water runs through your fingers, I answered. You cannot hold it, son. It pretends to stand, then disappears. You can make a bank, you said, not to stop it, to guide it. A bank is the law. I raised my voice, though I did not want to. And the law is us. Without it, everything falls apart. You fell silent, but I could hear other words stirring in you. I was afraid of them. I was not afraid of her dress or her laughter. I was afraid that if you followed her, my world would stop being mine, because my world is you in it. In the weeks that followed, you came home later. I saw sawdust on your sleeves, a different house's smell in your hair. I did not ask. I just shut the shutters earlier, thinking that darkness was wisdom. One evening you said, Dad, I want you to meet her. Why? I asked, though the question was already senseless. Because she is the one I love, you answered simply, without a tremor. Love is a word for which we answer to the end of life, I said. Do not throw it like seed into unknown soil. I am ready to answer. You looked straight at me, even if the soil is foreign. And I am not ready to watch you answer with an answer that is not ours, I said. We are different, son, and what you call love can become a difference that does not heal. Dad, you took half a step toward me, looking for any crack in my hardness. Enough, I said, and that enough came out louder than a shout. You stepped back one pace, and I understood it was not a step back, it was a step aside. I did not sleep that night. I read lines about mercy and truth, and I could not find in them a description of that woman. What I should have seen was a description of you. A quarrel does not come like a storm. It grows quietly, like mold under a plank. And then you suddenly breathe in and realize the air is already foul, that your lungs keep the aftertaste of old damp, the kind that makes you want to keep silent even harder. That day we worked in the shop. You were sanding the edge of a table long, even strokes, as if you were erasing excess memory from the wood. I was fitting a leg to its mortise, listening to the click as the wood settled into place. Our motions were precise, like prayer done with the hands, not with a voice, with a craft. I thought work would draw us together, press shoulder to shoulder. I was wrong. Dad, you said without looking up from the table, I am asking for your blessing, not for a day's task, for a road of a whole life. I set the chisel down so I would not make a wrong move. For what exactly? I asked, though I already knew. I wanted to hear it from your mouth, so I would have something to stand against. For marriage, you said evenly. You know with whom, and I am not hiding. With whom I know, I confirmed. The answer is no. I am asking for a blessing, you repeated more slowly, as if setting a nail and watching to see if the board would hold. Not permission, not indulgence. A blessing so I may walk straight and not grope my way. I said no, I answered, and the word fell heavy, like a hammer on the bench edge. Dad, you wiped the sandpaper on your apron. Do you love me? Say it not in general, but here, in this shop, today. Love is deeds, I replied almost mechanically, like a formula that saves you from extra questions. Deeds, not talk. Then do one deed, you said without defiance. Say to me, go in peace. And I will go with peace in my heart, not with a split. I cannot bless what I do not understand, I said, brushing shavings from the blade, as if the shavings were at fault. You do not have to understand her world. You answered without raising your voice. You have to hear my voice. That is your world, Dad, as long as I am here. I hear, I said, and I went silent. Silence stepped in between us like a stranger who does not knock. You waited. I saw the tension drain from your neck down into your shoulders, into your hands. Your hands kept sanding the table's edge, as if fine dust could take away pain, as if a smooth radius could heal what is crooked in our words. Say something, Dad, anything, you asked. Not correct, not bookish. What lives in you? I did not say it. I chose silence because words of love seem to me a weakness you cannot gather back. I thought, if I keep silent, you will stop. That silence will be a wall you will not dare to pass. But silence became a knife. It cut without a sound. You set the sandpaper on the bench edge and looked at the door. I felt the cold enter the shop, though the door was still closed and the gaps stuffed with tow. I will come when you call, you said, and your voice held no offense, only a steady bank. I did not answer. I did not nod. I did not give even a breath that could be taken as a sign. I will come, you added after a pause, even if the wind calls me. But let it be you first, because your voice weighs more to me than any gust. I stood like a stone in the middle of the path, stacking righteousness inside me like firewood for winter. It even rose so it would not collapse, and I choked on it when it caught fire inside without a flame. You took your coat. It was black, like our clothes on holy days. On the back of the chair lay her colorful scarf, the same one she left last time. I do not know why that scarf was in our shop. Likely you had brought her to show the work clean dovetails, tight mortises, fresh shavings that smelled of basswood. I allowed that because we are not animals. I had already turned cunning, allowed small things to have the right to forbid the main thing. You looked at the scarf. I looked at it too. The colors cut the eyes, as if a fairground fire had suddenly been lit in the house. You reached out your hand, but did not take it. Bless me, Dad, you said again, almost in a whisper, with a pause between words to make it easier for me to enter each one. I kept silent. My no longer came out. It lay in the silence like a stone under water. You cannot see it, but you hit it with every step. You left. The door banged just firmly enough for me to hear something crack inside me in the silence, but not so loudly that I could call it a fight. I sat and took paper. I began to write, "Son, come back whenever you wish." I wrote, "Son." I stared at that word a long time, as if it were a window, and I did not dare pull back the curtain. Then I put out the lamp, though it was not lit anyway. The letter remained unfinished, a single address with no road ahead. In the evening, my wife asked without lifting her eyes from the needle, "Did he come?" "He came," I answered, hunting for a voice in myself like a lost nail on the floor. "What did he say?" she asked evenly, like asking about the weather when you know the answer is larger than the sky. "He asked," I said, and that single word was enough to make the room tight. "And you?" She lifted her gaze. "I prayed," I answered, and it sounded to me like an excuse instead of a deed. She looked at me the way you look at a man hauling a heavy sack who stubbornly will not ask for help, though his back is already on fire. "Prayer without a word is like bread without salt," she said quietly. "You can eat it. To live on it is bitter. You know the difference between to swallow and to be nourished." I kept silent again. A second silence kills faster than the first. The first can be excused by fatigue, the second only by pride. Years passed, and their sound did not reach our house. The kitchen clock stopped. I did not wind it. I thought that way I would stop the count without you. But time went on, as always. It does not need a clock. My wife and I lived by work. Dough troughs, barrels, benches, everything went as before. Customers thanked us, paid. No one asked why the house had more echo now. In the evenings, we sometimes spoke of you like of weather, briefly, without judgments. I saw a cloud today shaped like a little boat, she would say. It will bring rain, I would answer. He loved the rain. He did. And silence. One day she said, I will go to the old woman beyond the woods. They say help is needed there. No, I answered. We have enough here. I do not have enough. She went several times. When she came back, she kept her silence. I could feel a different smell in her hair, the smoke of another stove, a different water in the pitcher, different eyes looking at her through a window. I felt jealous not of the English woman, but of my wife having a place outside my borders, and again I kept silent. Then she fell ill, quietly, without big signs. She simply drank less, ate less, sat more by the door. Her breathing grew short. I brought her tea. She took the cup and held it as if that warmed her more than the drink. Go to him, she said one day. Ask him to come home. He knows the door is open, I answered. To know and to hear are different things. And if he does not come back, then I will, she said, and smiled in a way I did not understand. The next week she was gone. I sat by the bed and asked God if he had mixed up the names. God was silent, or so it seemed to me. I closed her eyes. There was a faint yes on her lips. Maybe it answered something she heard there where I had no access. The neighbors woke, brought food, we prayed. The house became full of people and empty at the same time. When everyone left, I sat on the threshold. The trees outside stood bare. The wind passed through them like through a sieve. I looked at the clock that had stopped and wondered, if I wind it, will it go backward? The next day I tried to write to you. I wrote, Son, your mother has died. After that, a blank space where I should have put, come back. I put a period. The letter did not go. I set it under the Bible. Work grew harder. Every board sounded your name. Every nail went into my heart. I learned to live with it. A heart is a board too. It cracks, but if you work it well, the crack becomes a pattern. That is the lie we tell ourselves so we do not fall apart. Once a letter came, not from you, from a neighbor in the city. He wrote that he had seen you at a fair. Already a little gray, but smiling, working wood masterfully like his father, it said. I read it and felt something rise in my chest. Anger, joy, envy, all at once. I stood by the door a long time. Then I went out into the yard and looked at the sky. It was clear, cold. I said, Lord, if you are, let him come back while there is still a word in me. There was no answer. But sometimes silence is an answer too. I do not know what it meant then. When he stepped onto the threshold, I did not recognize him at once. Gray hair had made him another man, but the eyes the same. They remembered my hands, my voice, my mistakes. They remembered more than I wished. He stood and kept silent. I kept silent too. We were two shadows that had stepped out of their walls. Dad, he said. I did not move. Dad, I have come. Is it too late? I wanted to fall to my knees, but my knees did not obey. They held me up so I would stand a little longer in my pride. I felt something squeak inside me, like an old floor, and just about to break. Come in, I said. He stepped inside. I walked between him and the table and took matches. I lit the lamp. The light was yellow, brittle, but real. It reached for the corners and showed the dust, showed the cracks, showed the unfinished letter under the Bible. Light does not ask what to show. I did not know whether you would let me in, he said. The door is open, I answered, and I hated my answer the instant it left me. The door had been open a long time, but I was not the one who had opened it. We sat across from each other. Is she alive? He asked. I shook my head. Long gone. She waited for you. He closed his eyes. I saw his throat move. Then he drew a deep breath and opened his eyes. She wrote to me, he said. I kept silent too. I thought it was the right thing. I thought time would build a bridge by itself. It does not. It only dries the water beneath it. I nodded. I wanted to say many words at once, but I was afraid I would drown in them. Is it Anna? I asked. Yes, he answered. She is nearby. She is in the car, he added, and smiled shyly. We came together. I wanted to come in alone. Why? Because there are things a son must say to a father alone, and there are things a father must say to a son without witnesses. Say them. Dad, I lived a long time on your anger. It held me up. I swore I would not come back until I became the man you would want to see. I became a craftsman. I learned to work. I learned to feed a family. But one day I understood. All that is you, and I am not you. I have come to ask not for permission to live, but for permission to be your son without being your copy. I lowered my eyes. Two things fought in me, the old law and the new truth. The old law said, hold. The new truth whispered, let go and you will hold tighter. Is Anna kind? I asked. She is not one of ours, he said, and smiled with pain. But she can be silent when it is needed, and she speaks when it is needed. She does not know how to pretend. She taught me to look at things, not their names. I love her, and I want you to bless us. Not a ceremony, us. I raised my eyes. He did not look away. There was no challenge in them, only a plea that did not humiliate. I do not know how to talk about love, I said. You know how to make a table that can hold I love you so it will not fall, he answered. We fell silent. The lamp crackled. Somewhere outside a rooster crowed as if it had mixed up the time. I thought, someone always thinks the time is wrong, but time is always right. Bring her in, I said, if she does not mind our silence. She is not afraid of silence, he answered and stood up. He went out. I stood in the middle of the room and looked at the lamp. It burned like a watchman. I touched the Bible. The unfinished letter rustled. The door opened and Anna came into the house. She had grown older, but the same light was in her eyes. Not bright, stubborn. Good evening, she said. Good evening, I answered. She glanced at the Bible. I am not a stranger to this book, she said, but I read it differently. The main thing is to read it, I said, and surprised myself. Please sit. She sat. He sat beside her. I stayed on my feet. I was wrong, I said, looking at no one. I thought silence was strength. It turned out to be fear. Fear of saying, I love you, because then you have to prove it with a deed, even if you must lose face. I saved my face, and I lost the two of you. Anna leaned forward. You have lost nothing that cannot be caught up to, she said. We are here. No, I answered. Something is lost. Your mother is dead. You cannot catch her. But there are other doors besides hers. I am only now seeing them. I went to him and laid my hand on his head, like I did when he was small. My hand trembled. He shut his eyes. Go in peace, I said. Go as you think is right, and come back whenever you wish. Do not wait for me to call. I will not keep silent anymore. He opened his eyes. Tears stood in them. Thank you, Dad, he said. That is all I wanted to hear once, but it is good that I hear it now. We sat a long time. We talked about small things, about work, about the trees we love, about the table that stands between us, about how a table is not a wall. When they went out to the car for the night, I stood on the threshold. The cold was slowly entering my bones. I stood and listened to distant dogs calling to each other. I felt something strange, a calm with the taste of pain, like water off metal. It was a new state. I did not know how to live in it, but I was not afraid. In the morning, they got ready to leave. I set out bread and honey. I tied up some apples. These simple things weigh more than words when words have been quiet too long. We will come back, he said. Coming back is good. Not coming back is good too. Doors are not left open for slamming, but so that light can come through, I answered. Anna hugged me shyly. Her embrace was warm, like tea not yet brewed, a promise of warmth. Thank you, she whispered. Be well, I said. They walked to the car. I stood until the dust from the wheels settled. Then I went back inside. I sat at the table. I opened the Bible. I lifted the unfinished letter. I added, "Come back whenever you wish." I smiled to myself because now the letter was no longer needed. I cleared the lamp from the table and set it on the windowsill. I lit it. The light fell on the dust, and the dust shone. I understood a simple thing. Dirt does not disappear because it is not seen. You see it better when you turn on the lamp, and then you can wipe it away. I remembered how my wife underlined, "Blessed are the peacemakers." I ran my finger along the line and thought, peace is not a bargain, it is work. Not one day, not one scene. Work like sanding, strokes forward and back until the edge is smooth and does not cut a hand. I stepped outside. Dawn lay on the field like a thin blanket. The rooster sang. I was surprised by how loud and clean it was. As if he were setting a rule for the day, do not be afraid of your voice. I spoke into the air without raising my hands and without going to my knees. Lord, I mixed up your voice with my fear for a long time. Forgive me. I let go, and I ask, when I want to keep silent again, remind me that silence is also a word, but not always the one that needs to be said. I went back into the house and took up a new board. I ran my hand across it. The wood breathed. I understood. I can work again, not to forget, to remember rightly. That day I left the door open. Cold came in from outside, but the house was warm. Warm not from fire, from the fact that the words had found their way. I was no longer afraid that my "I love you" was weakness. Knowing that word had not made me softer, it had made me more sober. I thought a lot about our community, about the rules that hold us together, about the walls we build for ourselves so the wind will not steal our flame. I did not become someone else. I did not betray what I held my whole life. I simply saw a crack you can breathe through, and maybe through it someone else will see the light sometime and not be afraid. In the evening I prayed again. This time not after, but before the work as I used to. The words went evenly, without burrs. I did not learn new prayers. I learned something else, to say them out loud without hiding behind correctness. Later, when night fell, I heard steps in the yard. I went out. It was the neighbor's boy bringing me a letter. I took it and thanked him. On the envelope, the handwriting I knew. Dad, we made it. The road was good. We will come for the holiday. I want to bring you a bench I made with my own hands. It is simple, but strong. I thought you would feel my "I love you" in it, even if I did not say it. I will say it anyway. I love you, your son. I sat on the threshold and laid the letter on my knees. The sky was clear. I felt something slide from my shoulders, something I had carried for years and mistook for a cross. It was not a cross. It was a sack of stones I had loaded myself. The cross remained, but it became light, because now I carry it rightly. I fell asleep and woke with dawn. The rooster sang. A sunbeam came through the dusty window and made the dust golden. I thought, God was not silent, it was I who did not hear. I hear now, and I am no longer afraid to keep silent when there is nothing to add. Because there are moments when silence is a place for another voice, and there are moments when silence is a sin. I am learning to tell the one from the other. I closed the door, but not with the bolt. I set the lamp in the middle of the table. I slid the Bible closer to the edge, so it would not lie under my hands, but live in plain sight. I took up my tools and began to work on the bench. Somehow I already knew what it should be like. Steady, without ornament, with a small crack on the side as a reminder that even the best wood carries the mark of its history. As I sanded the edge, I smiled. It was not joy, not readiness to sing. It was a quiet motion, like opening a hand. When water runs out of it, you do not clench your fist, you look for a road for the water. That is all I wanted to say. If you, my son, read something else in my story, take that something else for yourself. Mine is here. I am no longer afraid to call things by the names they deserve. The sin of silence is not that there is no word. The sin is when the word exists and you pretend you do not hear it. Tonight I will leave the door open again. Let the cold come in if it wants. Cold is not frightening when a lamp is burning in the house. I know where the matches are. I know how to hold them. I know that light is responsibility. And for the first time in many years, I accept that responsibility. If fate gives me one more day, I will meet it simply. I will brew coffee, yes, sinful, as the neighbors say, because we love what is plain. I will set a bench by the door so you can sit and talk or keep quiet without sin. I will wait for any footsteps, yours, a stranger's, God's, and I will not mix up the voices anymore. I know how to listen now. When my time comes, let it come quietly. I will not ask for much. Only that the lamp be near, that its light fall on the dust and make it golden, that the rooster sing as always, and that between his song and my last breath there be room for the word, I love you. Not with despair, with truth. That is how I end my story. It is not an excuse. It is a tool with which I true the edge, so that whoever sits at this table will not cut a hand, so that if you come back and lay your palm on the wood, you will feel, it is warm here. You are awaited here. Your name is not forgotten here. And if someone must keep silent, let it be only so another can say what needs to be said.